Hello everyone, Two Turn Studios lead dev here. We're going to go into variables and variables and adding them together in my Unity tutorial for absolute beginners. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go over some basic variable types that you're definitely going to need to know to start coding in Unity. There are a couple different ones. There's int, which is an integer. That is basically a number that can be large. So an int is just basically think any standard number that you're not trying to save a bunch of space on a game. Like say you're not needing, like most modern games, especially indie games in Unity, an integer is not going to be a game breaker when it comes to space. So for most of my numbers, unless it's too large to store an int, which it usually isn't, I use integers. So let's do an integer called number 1, make it equal to 0. We're going to do another integer equals number 2. It's got to be one word. Remember, variables have to be one. You can't have a space in a variable. You can't have a space in a statement, the variable statement. You can put an underscore. There's certain characters you can't put in, like a slash, because that means it would be trying to divide it, or a modulo, like we mentioned in the last video, modulos. Yeah, so you can't have that in there, the variable name. Let's make that equal to 0. Another variable type is a string. Strings are basically forms of text. So you see here, print, my tutorial project loaded. This in here, in these quotes, is a string. So all of this, my tutorial project loaded, that is a string. And so that is why there have to be quotes there, because quotes, in a lot of little statements like print, and quotes is strings. So like if you're adding strings together or putting words in something or adding text with a specific word, you're going to have it in quotes unless it's already assigned to a string variable. So I could copy this, Control-C copy, and add that there. And I could just put this word 1 and watch what happens. This should still print just fine. See, printed just fine. As you see, because it's getting the string of here. A couple others that you're going to want to, think of. At the moment, there's a couple more game object 1. You won't set that to equal to anything because while it's not ideal, the way I always do it is in assigning objects in an inspector, because assigning it in runtime as a beginner, you can kind of mess up sometimes. There's a couple little tricks that could trip you up assigning it that wasn't already assigned in the inspector. Let me think if there's any others. There's a couple more that you're going to maybe want to think of eventually. Like there's text. Now keep them text. That's going to be a text UI object. You're going to want to think of. You're going to want to know. Trying to think of anything else at the moment. You know what? That's all I can think of at the moment. You don't use a lot of different ones. We'll go into arrays and lists and all that in another video. So we're not going to touch arrays yet. But there are certain things like array list and doing an integer array. But we'll go into that another time. Let's take out the text here and the object. Now we're going to look at adding these together. So we're going to look at adding these together. So we're going to, let's clear this string out. Now, if you just have two quotes and nothing between them, that's going to indicate an empty string. It's going to indicate it as nothing. So it's going to be, nothing there. So it's going to imagine no string is there. But the string exists, so even if I have nothing in the string quotes, it's still going to print it. It just won't. It'll just say like nothing, basically. Come on. All right. So we're going to set the string to equal something. So we're going to set word1 equals to, remember we have to put it in quotes, and then we're going to put plus. And this is how you add strings together. You do a plus. Make sure you have it equals. Make sure you're having something getting assigned to be equal to these additions. Because if you just have, you gotta make sure word1 is equal to this. So we're gonna do my plus tutorial plus. Remember to put them in quotes. Remember to end your quotes. Project exclamation point. Now I want you to think of pause the video for a second if you need to, but think of what this will equal for a second. Pause the video now if you need to. Okay, so we're gonna go into we're gonna make sure the print word1 is in there. Now, why do I have it running? I keep doing this. You really don't want to be saving new stuff while the project is running. Oops. Okay. So let's do a plus just to double check. And as you see here, it's coming in my tutorial project. But why aren't there spaces here? Why are there no spaces? Well, that's because it's not set in your string. Your string does not have spaces set in it. So there's a couple different ways you can add spaces. If you want to, you can add an individual space by each word. It's the more surefire way to make sure you're keeping track of your spaces where they are. But it's really going to get all jumbled. So I would suggest to not do that for first practice. And instead, if you're adding string, add a space to the beginning and end of each section, except for the first part that you're adding in, no space at the beginning, and the last part, no space at the end. So now we should get what we're looking for when we print. That should print out like we originally had it. My tutorial project. There we go. Now we're going to do a addition of integers. So we're going to do number1 equals 5 times 3. It's going to be 15. And we're going to do number2 equals, remember you have to equal it to something, 3 plus 3. And then we're going to do a print number1 plus number2. As you see here, now what should be 15 plus 6 should give us 21. Instead of printing my tutorial project, it should give us 21. Yep, there it is, 21. As you see right here, 21. Now, if we go into, now remember that variables are just a storage of something. So let me go into, say hi to Pikachu. Hi, Pikachu. We are going to take Pikachu, and we're going to pretend Pikachu is a variable, okay? Pikachu, let's say it's a string variable, and it's equal to, let's just add text here, string. Let me make sure that this is a lot larger. Dang, that is small. There we go. Now, while Pikachu is a variable and the string it's getting assigned to is called string, Pikachu now equals string. But when you use it in anything else, say you want to put it in something else, and you put Pikachu instead, you could put this here, string, instead of Pikachu, because the variable is named Pikachu. You could just put the text here and that as well, because Pikachu, all that it equals to is just a value for what it says here, string. Okay, does that make sense? So this, whatever it's assigned to, is just the value. There's nothing special other than a storage. So you're basically storing it, and the reason that you store it is because, say it's used for damage, or say this Pikachu is a game object and it's Pikachu. You're going to be needing to add a ton of Pikachus to your game. So it's easier to just store it in one variable Pikachu instead of adding, typing out string every single time, and you could mess up when it's used for the same thing. Okay, now hopefully that makes sense with that. That's basically what there is when it comes to wording. When it comes to strings and numbers and calculations. Remember, variables are just a storage. They're just like a storage unit. So just think of, you have one last thing to explain. You have a car. No, not a car. You have like a closet or a box. If you have a box and you want to use the box for just certain things, you store it in that. And then you can clone the box and take it wherever you want. I hope that makes sense. Apologies if it's hard to explain, but I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, let's see what we're going to be going into next. Next, we're going to be going into a little bit of text and Canvas. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or if it helped you out. And I'll see you next time.